All right, good day, gents, and welcome to another episode of Father's Fire. My name's Jody Cedric, and every week we get together to explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows, and yes, the fun of being a dad. And I'm telling you, it's super fun in my house. And RJ, who is my guest. Welcome, RJ.
Blessings to you, man. Thank you for having me on this beautiful platform, bro.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So, I mean, it is Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving. I'm not sure if you were brave enough to go out for Black Friday. I've only done it once, and I'm never doing it again.
I was forced to do it as a child, so my a lot of my Thanksgivings ended on early note as per food, and we ended up on a lot of lines growing up. So no, as an adult, no, not at all. I think I went one time as an adult with my wife, and that was only because I was courting her. If I'm being honest. And after that, after I actually made it in and won her over, it was the last time. So nope, no Black Friday shopping for me.
Yeah, no, you can have that. And it's, I'm talking about it being fun because I mean, our house, pre-show, you're talking about your Thanksgiving being quiet. My Thanksgiving is never quiet. I have an extremely competitive house,
Oh
and
wow.
they turn every game into a championship battle. So after we're stuffing our face, it's pecan pie, pumpkin pie, all the pies, but it's
Love
all
it.
games. And we play four on the couch and numbers and all of them. I mean, it just gets pretty wild. In fact, I think it was 2 years ago we were playing Extreme Spoons. I don't know if you know, but basically it's the typical spoons, but then we
Yeah.
put the spoons at the top of the stairs. And so not only did you have to grab the spoon, but then you had to run up the stairs to get the spoon. And we ended up taking someone to the hospital because
I can imagine. I can only imagine.
I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it's crazy. So, before we jump into this too far, I need to introduce my guest. His name is RJ. He runs an incredible podcast called the Imperfect Fathers Podcast. He's known as the Imperfect Gentleman, and he also runs another podcast called Uniquely Confident Podcast, helping men develop self-confidence. And I love, in fact, you and I met on Clubhouse originally, talking in a group, talking about fatherhood. But I loved what was really drawn to me was not only your words and your insight, but your name, the Imperfect Gentleman, because I think a lot of us men have this conception that we have to be perfect. And the reality is we're all messed up.
Completely. If we're honest, right? If we're gonna be honest, like we're completely jacked up.
Yeah, so let's talk about the genesis of the idea of the imperfect gentleman and imperfect fathers, because a couple weeks ago I had a guest on, Tyler Cucci, phenomenal. When I originally reached out to him, he's like, well, I don't know if I'm a good fit for your podcast. I go, why is that? He goes, well, I'm not a perfect dad. I'm
Mm,
like, dude, no one's a perfect dad.
right, at all.
And that's why we're having this. So let's explore being imperfect as a man.
Right. Well, first and foremost, thank you once again for this opportunity because anytime that someone allows me on their platform, I understand it's a privilege, it's an honor, and I don't take it lightly. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
the Imperfect Gentleman. Now, if I be honest, it came out of nowhere. It was God given. So what happened was a few years ago. A part of my story is like I was really down. I had nothing. So when I became a father, that's when my manhood really happened. Because before then, I was just existing as a boy, pretending to be a man. So my kids hit me with a reality check, and it wasn't until I didn't have anything, and my children needed, and I found myself stealing their formula from Walmart. I found myself doing things like that to even just to survive. I said to myself, "No, something has to change." And it wasn't until I was like at my worst, when I was literally selling my plasma to feed my kids. That's when I realized, like, yo, dear God, I need something. So one day I'm in the bed and I'm scrolling on my phone, and a good friend of mine that's been calling at me for years, his name is Mike Williams. He runs a company called the Breakthrough Kings. And I see him all over my Facebook, all over. Every time I scroll up, like every 3 scrolls, he's there. So I'm like, yo, what is he doing? So I give him a call one day. I said, hey, yo, Mike, man, I'm at probably like the lowest point of my life right now, bro. I need some help. Like, what are you doing? Like, help me." He's like, "Yeah, I've been coming at you for years. I've been telling you to come on the internet and join me in this venture since 2008, but you've been too busy, quote unquote, running the streets, pretty much." So he said, "Figure what I'm gonna tell you to do is one thing. I'm not gonna give you a whole bunch of directives. I'm gonna give you one: change your environment." So I got into an environment called the Morning Meetup.
Mm.
There is where I found out, like, oh, there's a different environment of people, right? That opened my eyes. So now I'm like, I want to be a part of this. I want to give back, but I don't have any skills. I don't have anything to give to the market. Like, I'm out here literally using my hands and my feet to make money. I don't have a skill in my mindset, right, to offer anything to the market or help anyone. But then one day, my mother was like, "Yo, listen, do and talk about what you're good at, what you've always been good at. Just be yourself." I was like, "Yo, mom, like, nobody wants to hear my lame, imperfect life." She was like, "Yes, they do." And,
Yeah, they do.
in my mom's weird way, she's like, "Yes, they do." And boy, I gotta go. I'm busy. Click, hung up on me. She had to go run and do what she was doing. But in that moment, I realized, yo, I don't have to be perfect. And I'm like, yo, imperfect. And then my grandmother always told me, God bless her soul, I don't care what you're gonna do in this world. You can pretend to be a gangster. You can pretend to be do whatever you want in the streets, but you are going to be a gentleman. So my entire life, I've been known as a gentleman, no matter what I do. So there goes the name, the Imperfect Gentleman. And I was sitting in the bed one night and just said it, and my wife popped up in the bed and she's like, "That's it. That's your name."
That now I love that because I think, my wife and I have this discussion a lot. There is a kind of a undercurrent in society that says we need to be the perfect dad. We need to be the perfect mom, the perfect entrepreneur. And the reality is perfection is a process,
It's an
right? And
illusion.
say that again.
It's an illusion.
It's an illusion. I agree, right? And it's like my wife's always like, let's take perfect out of the discussion and let's just talk about making progress,
Right.
of
Right.
growing together, of becoming more,
Right.
right? And let's kick the word perfect out because we only know there was one perfect person. So let's just emulate, the way that he loved and treated people.
Right.
And in
Absolutely.
that process of loving people, we will create the connection, we will create the bridge that will enable them to level up and ourselves to level up.
Yo, bro, you gave me goosebumps because right now, my spiel going to the next year is I'm just talking out loud to myself. See, a lot of
Mm,
times people don't realize, like, when I come on my platforms and I come on my content and I'm speaking to this king that I speak about, I'm talking to myself a lot of the times. I'm talking to a little boy in me that I'm still trying to mature. Because I
mm,
always talk about there's three ages: your actual age, your intelligence, and your emotional intelligence. See, my
mm,
emotional intelligence for a long time was stuck at the age of 7 because that's when I lost touch of my feelings. That's when I lost touch of me being a person, right? Because for some strange reason, boys go from this being a baby boy to a boy straight into manhood. Like, we just, what's adolescence? You know, you're a man now. So there's so many things that we're just catapulted into, and we're still baby boys on the inside emotionally. So everything that I do. I speak to the boy in me because I'm trying to mature that young boy in me so that he can go forth and be the man that my wife needs, that my children need.
mm. I really like the idea of that because I think a lot of us men are emotionally stunted.
Oh yes,
Right.
no
We're
question.
we're trying to put on the front, we got it all together, but emotionally we're stunted. We're stuck back
Yeah,
in at age 7, age 8, age 10 or 12, whatever it is, where we somewhere we're told to shut off the emotions,
right,
man up, and do manly things instead of embracing a process of becoming a man and in that process, both emotionally, spiritually, and mentally growing along with your age. But most of us are still stunted.
Yo, and it's a scary thing because one thing you don't realize is guns don't kill people, right? People kill people. People use guns to kill people. So a lot of times the person that's using the gun is a person who's still crying or hasn't cried about something that they should have cried about a long time ago, which have harbored that and it's turned to violence.
Yeah.
So we have this whole theory about gun laws and all these things, but we have to deal with the root of the problem. In order to deal with the root of the problem, we have to let some of these men that are 40, 50, 60, 70 cry for the first time in decades. Create a space where they can just open up emotionally. There's so much built up in animosity and pain inside the hearts of men to where it seeps out and it now becomes toxic to the people around them. This is why we
Mm,
see so much domestic violence. This is why we see so much brutal acts amongst our queens from us because we're just not dealing. And the truth of the matter is we don't know how to deal.
yeah.
Let's think about this for a second. A little girl falls on the floor. Oh my God, the room stops. She cries, and I'm telling you, even the cats and the dogs are coming to check on this little girl. Like, I'm just being honest. Even the chef is coming out. Everybody's checking on this little girl, and they're gonna make sure that until she stops crying and she's seen about till she's back to normal, nobody's going back to their duties. Once that she's taken care of in everyone else's sight, everybody disperses. She feels better and she goes about her business. She feels loved. She feels appreciated. She feels protected. Same note, same room, same crowded space. A boy walks through the room, falls on the same exact thing that she tripped on. We're going to have a limited amount of people to even pick their head up.
Mm,
Then we're going to have even more limited people to even come over to see if he's okay. And then the ones that do come to see if he's okay is going to what? Oh, you're okay. Man up. You're tough. Brush it off.
it ain't that bad.
It ain't that bad. And then they're going to walk away and tell him, go about your business. This is what boys do. So he's not validated to say he's hurt. He's not okay to be embarrassed now because he fell. He's not okay to even experience the emotions, right? Not even show them, but experience them in a space where she was allowed to experience, feel, work through, and then be validated for it. It's a whole different process that we have to break from even dealing with our baby boys. How do I know this? Listen, he just turned 4 years last week. Last Tuesday, he just turned 4. And in the first 2 years of his life, I screamed at him for not being a man. I'm
Mm,
my baby boy, y'all. At the age of 2, telling him to be a what? Something that I'm still not even sure how to do.
yeah. It's like
What the hell? It blows my mind, man. We got to do better.
we do have to do better, and it's such a challenging thing because now we have men who have kids that haven't even figured out how to go through boyhood,
Yes,
and now they're in major manhood. They're not just a man, they have kids, right?
right.
And they're now trying to teach those kids how to be a man. And we tend to, I think, in a lot of ways, especially listening to you, is we're expecting these young men, these young boys, to make a huge leap. And what do we know about what happens when you skip steps? I tell this guys in my business all the time. It's like, dude, I know you want to be a 5 million, $10 million company, but we got to become a 1, 2, 3. We can't skip those steps.
Right.
If you skip those steps, you inevitably come back and have to revisit them,
Mm-hmm.
and you're rebuilding and deconstructing and then reconstructing, and it takes you longer. And so now we have these men walking around that have skipped steps from boyhood to manhood, and they're having to revisit mentally and emotionally
Yes.
the trauma that they experienced because they skip those steps.
Absolutely. And let me tell you something. The one thing that I don't know that anybody else has done this in life, but I used to take my pride in of how many steps I can skip on the staircase in high school, like being able to run up those
Yep.
steps. But it was always that one time that if you missed that step that you was trying to strive for, that you ended up probably smacking your face open, cutting open your hands. It was probably one of the hardest falls you ever taken. But had you just followed the steps, right, just taking the steps and as they were designed, and this is what my mentor told me a few months ago. He was like, "Yo, it's so crazy because if we would just follow the pattern that grade school set up for us, we'd be fine." But as soon as we come out of grade school, we think to ourselves, "Oh, I can skip that step." No, no, no. It was necessary for you to go from first grade to second grade because if you missed second grade, you wouldn't know how to prepare yourself for the third grade. And this is how we as men, there's so many of us that are in positions now as men, as fathers now, that we don't even know how to be boys.
Yeah.
We
I
don't even know the proper protocol of being a boy transitioning into a man, more or less of being a functional man before you found your wife and children. So it's a step that I don't think even Hussein Bolt would be able to cover in one leap, right? You understand what I'm saying? Because
yeah.
it's impossible, bro.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges is we as men are going through. I kind of lost my thought for a sec, so I gotta rewind there and recapture that. I like that you shared a few minutes ago that you're always trying to talk to the boy in you, to speak to the boy in you,
Yes, sir.
because I know, like when I had the beginnings of my book that I just released, I was proposed with the very challenging question that made me look inward.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I mean, it made me really look inward, and somebody asked me the other day, it's like, "What is the best thing about writing a book that surprised you?" And I said, "The thing that surprised me most is that it made me really look inside. It made me really look at some of these experiences from the perspective of what didn't I know, what should have I have known, and what could I have done better, and what can I do better now
Right, going forward.
to move forward,
Right.
right?" And I think a lot of us men are sweeping things under the carpet without really addressing them and being honest with ourselves with what needs to change.
I think that we have to first be in order for us to address what we're sweeping under that carpet, right? In order for us to address whatever that is, first and foremost, we got to be okay with dealing with emotions. And because what we do is, if we feel a foreign emotion that makes us feel less masculine than we naturally feel, or society tells us it's okay for us to feel, we immediately go to anger. It's an immediate thing. We go wham! I don't like that. I'm angry. No, no, you're not angry. You just don't know how to deal with this feeling that you're having currently. You just don't know how to process that. You haven't been given the space to even understanding of how to process a feeling as a masculine individual. So we have to first address the man that's saying, "Yo, you know what? Let me sweep this under the carpet." Why are you sweeping it under the carpet? Why? Why don't you want to deal with that? Because naturally, right, as men, we're built to where we go after things and we approach things. We approach things with a mindset of fixing things, making it better. This is a mindset of a man. We were built to build. So if you're not trying to work on something, or you're just trying to push something aside, excuse me, there's a malfunction somewhere. There's something wrong. And in order for us to deal with what's wrong, we got to be okay with being vulnerable and have more spaces like this where we can come and say, "Yo, listen to me, Jody. Today, bro, I'm not okay, man. I don't want to be a dad right now. Like I'm hurt. My heart is hurt because I wish I had a dad that was around for me the way I am right now for mine. I want to feel the love that I give. I want to feel the appreciation that my kids have for me. I want to see somebody that I look up to." But if we don't create the spaces where men can come and say those kind of things, we're just as bad as the rest of the community. And this is why I do what I do, Jody. This is why my heart is in this work, because we have to create spaces where men can heal themselves. Because if we don't heal, we're setting them up for failure.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple things, thoughts that I had in there. Number one, a lot of times we men get angry,
Right.
and we get angry because, in my experience, it's one of two things. One, we've lost control,
Right.
right? We're trying to control the situation. It's not going the way we expected. So
Right.
we get angry, right? And
Correct.
the other reason is because we're afraid.
Yes.
We're afraid we don't have the right answer, or we're afraid that the way our expectation is not right. Right. So all of a sudden, this fear
Right.
and this unknowing and not being in control forces us, or creates an environment where we choose to become angry instead of stepping back and going, all right, what do I need to learn, or what do I need to say, or what do I need to not say?
That part.
What do I need to not
Right.
say to make this situation better?
Correct.
Because a lot of times, in our determination to try to fix it, to build, to solve the problem, what I found is that a lot of times we're pushing the answer when our kids or our wife are not ready for it. And
Right.
they haven't worked through the journey themselves. And if I discipline myself and just step back and listen, eventually they work through the same process that I've already done,
Hmm.
and they come to the same conclusion, but they did it for themselves.
Right.
And we need to allow men and boys and our daughters to go through the process of experience, because a lot of times we look at a challenge that a young boy or young girl are having at 7 or 8 or 12 or 16, and we're like, that's easy.
Mm-mm.
Man,
Mm.
just solve it. Why are you complaining? That's an easy problem.
That's
Well, it's
terrible.
not for them,
Right. And it
because
wasn't for us.
it's the first time they faced it.
Right.
It's the
Right.
first time. And we're, judging them at the lens of 35, 45,
Right.
55, and going, why aren't you getting it? Why aren't you a man already?
And we're inflicting the same pain. Check that out. We're inflicting the same pain subconsciously because we don't want to do it, right? We don't want to give the things and the traumas to our children, but subconsciously we're inflicting the same trauma onto our children because now they have a thought process. I'm not good enough. Now
Mm,
we're reaffirming the negative, right? Now
yeah.
we're showing you that you're not enough now because now you have to pretend. Now you have to. Now you want to. Oh, dad's not right. Because think, but the truth of the matter is, our children look up to us. They look, so they want to please us. They want to be enough in our sight. But if we haven't become enough in our own sight,
Mm,
if we haven't become enough in our own sight, how how can we expect our children? And the word expectations right there. Let me tell you something. That's the reason for everything. Check this out. If you feel like you're not a good enough father, what are you comparing it to? Who are you comparing that to? Because now, if you even if you do give me a person, you're still wrong. Because now you're taking the eyesight off of yourself. Because
mm,
in order for you to be the best father that you can be, you can only look within your circumstance. You can hear, you can take mentors, you can take words of advice from people's podcasts everywhere else. But if you're not focusing in at home and what you are developing yourself into, there's no way in the world. There is no way in the world you're going to be able to be better as a father. No way.
yeah, it's impossible. In fact, I was talking to my really good friend and my personal mentor, Sean Hart, a couple weeks ago, and I could tell based on his post on Facebook that he had a really frustrating day.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I reached out to him. I go, man, what's going on? He's like, man, he goes, some of these men that I'm working with, they're driving me crazy. He goes, I give them money for child support. I give them legal help. I set up all these things to help them reconnect with their kids. And then when they're complaining because their kids are not connecting with them. It's
Mm,
because they're dropping in wanting to be the dad. He goes, but they forgot that they weren't there when they really needed them.
most.
And I always I've talked about this often. It's like we need to lean into our kids. I mean, we have to be all into them, but maybe we need to lean all into ourselves.
First and foremost.
First and foremost, we got to lean into ourselves and be willing to go, man, I need to change. I need
Every
to
last one of
grow.
us. Every last one of us.
I need to become better. I need to be gentler. I need to be softer spoken. I need to be more patient.
Yes.
I need
More
to be
comprehensive.
100% present when my kids are around and my wife around instead of on my phone,
Right. Right.
scrolling, looking at the sports scores or looking at TikTok.
Right.
It's easy to get distracted and not be present.
Let me tell you, the one thing I've learned about me not having a father figure and men coming into my life, you can't check what you haven't checked in on.
Mm,
Explain. You can't walk into a child's life and tell him or her what they're not doing or what they're supposed to be doing as an example because you haven't seen how they was doing on the days when they were doing well, when they were looking for that validation of who they are or that sports score that they scored that day. Where were you those days? But then again, you get that phone call, they had a bad day at school, and now it's time for you to come check them. You can't check somebody you haven't checked in on. So to all the fathers out there who are in that space, understand, think back. And that's why I tell every man, think back to what you felt. Because it's either you forgot, you swept it under the rug, you haven't dealt with it. But the truth of the matter, look back into your history of feelings. Remember how you felt on those days when you looked over your shoulder and you wanted somebody there. Or if the one that was there was too busy hollering at the next woman. Think about how you felt. Think about what you felt like as an individual, more or less a man or a woman, as an individual. See, I think that we do a good job of differentiating between man and woman. Phenomenal job. Absolute phenomenal. Round of applause to the world. But what we don't realize is that we're the same. We're just individuals. The same feelings that women have, we have.
yeah.
Emotions are not unisex, bro. Like, like,
No.
like they're not specifically made just for our queens. Like we have the same emotions. And I guess when we start to be able to feel them, understand them, and also comprehend them, right? Because just because you're frustrated does not call for anger. See, we feel frustration and instantaneously we get angry. Oh, I'm out of control. Well, let me give you some kind of a realization. You don't control anything. You don't even control the oxygen that you breathe. So control is an illusion as well. So let me just help you right here. Let go. Find out what's going on because what we're holding on to are past pains. Now,
Yeah.
one thing I want to say is right now, God is good because what he does is he gives us something we call time, right? Time helps us because time allows us to forget, right? It allows us to remember less, not always forget, but not remember the feelings. Because if time wasn't here, we would have that same heartbreak forever. We would have that same headache forever. But because we're blessed with time, we don't know how to use it. And my silent mentor, he's no longer with us. God bless his soul, Dr. Miles Monroe said, if you know what to do with time and change, you'll never be wrong. If you know how to operate in time and change. So time is never ever going to stop and change is inevitable. So what we do with ourselves and the quote unquote stuff that we're sweeping under the rugs, if we take the time and uses the change in our mindsets, the season, and everything else around us to deal with said emotions, we'll prepare ourselves for a beautiful tomorrow. And our children will be able to see this. Because guess what our children see? Every damn thing. Every damn thing.
And more importantly, they remember how they felt
Yes.
watching every damn thing.
Right. Right.
Right. And so it's important that we're cognizant of how we're the environment that we're setting so
Right.
that our children feel loved, they feel confident. And I think to your point, a lot of times we're constantly trying to control everything in our environment.
Always.
And I had to learn this hard. I mean, I had to learn this the hard way. I mean, and it's the impetus for my book. Our family was facing a really huge challenge that had lifetime consequences.
Hmm.
And we were deep in the throes of it. I mean, we were in a swamp and I was feeling down and frustrated. I'm like, I can't control anything. And in this dark space, my friend Sean reached out to me and said, he goes, Jody, I feel like you need to talk.
Mm.
And I said, yeah, dude. And I just unloaded. It was so nice to have a man, a brother,
Absolutely.
call me and say, Jody, I just feel like, God's touched my heart that you need to talk.
Mm.
And man, I'm out walking our neighborhood and, and just pouring my heart out to him. And after 30 minutes of just pouring my heart out to him, he said, Jody, he said, you need to learn to dance with the currents of life
Mm.
and trust that God is taking your family where they need to go.
Right. That's
Dude,
powerful.
that moment, it changed my perspective. And it made me reflect on so many experiences that I've had with water and go, you know what? I can't control the current,
Nope.
but I can learn how to leverage its power
Yes.
to take me where I need to go or to have fun or to, all these amazing things that you can do with water, but you can't really control it.
No,
Right?
sir.
And that's the way life is, right?
Right.
Life ebbs and flows, and if we learn to become one with those experiences
Huh?
and be teachable and moldable in those, we can become the master navigator that God's hoping that we will become
Right.
walking with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the reason why I say where the imperfect gentleman came from, and to spin back, because one thing that I've learned is that God does not expect us to be perfect. And in no actuality, he shuns it. Like, like there's nothing perfect because he couldn't be him. Like, if there was any individual on life, now think about this also too. Jim Rome says this: do you really want to finish? Do you want to be the
Mm.
first to the end? Like this life game that we're playing, right? Do you really want to finish first? Do you want to be complete? Because I don't want to. Me personally, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to win this game first. I want to be one of the last, right? Because we have this illusion that we're thinking that we're going to complete something or finish something. And the truth is, when we're finished, it's the day of our demise, and we're going on to transition to be with the Lord. But here on this earth, we should be striving to live in this moment. And how we live in this moment is, like you said, dancing with the currents. See, and this is one thing I tell every man that I coach. Whenever you are in the hardest point of your life, and this might sound crazy, but my grandmother told me whenever the storm is starting to rage and you feel like there's things on your shoulder, begin to celebrate. Begin to dance like David danced. Because
Mm.
what's happening is you're celebrating because you know on the other side of this is the blessing that you was actually asking for. See, but once again, we forget what we asked God for previous seasons. See, God's not going to give us what we want to right now. Like, especially as men, we think that, oh, we ask God, oh, we're supposed to give it to us right away. That's not how this works. He deals with us in seasons. So if you ask for something in the winter, you best believe you have to go through a year of preparation of whatever that you ask for. So when that thing comes around, you can be mentally and spiritually prepared to have it, and not just have it where it can benefit you, but benefit your neighbor. This is what I learned now as being a man. Nothing that we go through is for us. So when we're in those areas or those trenches you spoke about, and our family is around with us, oh, that's some real uncomfortable times. That's some real uncomfortable times, Jody. When you're going through it, but your family is in it with you, because now you got this thought process of, I can't drown, but I also can't let my family drown.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, if we just take the time to realize and do what our sons do, right? Think about it, Jody. When your son needed you and he couldn't really pronunciate or pronounce all his words as a baby, what did he do? He simply just picked his head up and looked at you and put his hands up. And if we can just understand as men that we're just boys with a little bit more time on this earth and get back to saying, Father, help me, whenever we're in those low places, oh, he'll do just that. Because like you said, it was a time, it was a season when you and your family was in a space where you didn't see tomorrow. You saw right now. You
Yeah.
seen the danger in the present hand. But the truth of the matter is God and everything else has a tomorrow with it in his will. And now you are where you are right now, looking back on the receipt. And we go with those receipts again. Now you have proof. Not only are you're a man, you're a phenomenal father. You're still present. Out of everything you've been through, you're still in the space of the leader. You're still the foundation to the family. So only thing it's done for you is made you better, made you more confident in each and every space as a man, father, husband, because you've been tested in those spaces. And the one thing we men have to understand, if you want something, especially a title, as a man, father, or husband, you're going to be tested in that space. It comes with some testing. You can't have the muscle without the workout. So trust me when I tell you, if you want to be qualified as a father, a good man, a good father, a good husband, it's going to be tested. And my man Jody just finished sitting here telling us that in that space, you're going to have to give yourself some space and understanding to talk to the man upstairs, because we can't do it as men, yo. I don't know where this concept came from, Jody. I don't know where it came from that we're this strong, we can do it all by ourselves. But hey, fellas, I'm gonna break the mold. You can't.
No,
Well,
we need the help. And what I found is that, we often strive for a blessing, but we recoil from what it takes to get that blessing.
ooh, you stabbing deep on that one, Jody. So you mean to tell me we ask for stuff, right? But when it's time for us to do the things that is necessary for us to receive it, we run off. That's what you're saying we
We
do.
run.
So that's like your son or your daughter walking up to you asking you for $10, and they won't wait the time that it takes for you to reach your hand in your wallet to get it and go through the necessary protocols to hand it to them. That's what we
Yeah.
do, Joe. That's what we do.
That's exactly what we do.
Oh my
Exactly.
goodness.
The other thing that I've learned is that the proof comes after the proving.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to be proved worthy of
Yes.
that blessing that you're aspiring to. And it requires us to stretch, it requires us to grow.
Yes.
And if we as men can embrace the process
Right.
of growing,
Right.
then our family will be blessed because we will have become better.
Yes. I think that word process. We don't we say a lot of words these days. They're really catchy words, right? Accelerate, fast, but we don't really emphasize the word process.
Yeah.
What it takes to get to something else. See, what I tell every man that I coach, Jody, I tell him everything. Well, I'm very transparent. The only thing that happens overnight, and this is one of my sayings, I'm actually going to probably put on a t-shirt, is eye boogers and orgasm if you lucky. Like those are the only two things that happen overnight, Jody. Like name two other things that happen overnight. I'll wait.
You got to make that a shirt. I will buy that shirt. That shirt's great. Eye
But
burgers and orgasm. That's funny.
yeah, that's the only two things that happen overnight. Like nothing. It's
Uh,
literally 8 hours. It's literally the time where we're resting. Nothing happens overnight. So I don't know why we think that anything we want in life is gonna happen just that fast. Right? I don't understand why we think that. And my grandmother, this is where I go back to her. Like she hated when one year I got, I was in the street doing my thing and I got a few dollars. So I was like, yo, this year I'm gonna buy my grandmother a vacuum. Like it was back in the early late 90s, and she needed a vacuum. She kept sweeping. Hey, go in our house and sweeping carpets. I'm like, no, grandma, it's a vacuum. Yo, Jody, I bought this woman this vacuum, and you would have thought that I brought Satan into her house. Get that out of my house. I don't want that thing here. And get it. I'm like, grandma, why are you tripping? First of all, you're in a wheelchair. You don't even sweep the floor. Somebody else does it. So why do you even care? She sat me down. and was like, yo, you have to understand that things that take time, they have processes. And in those processes, you become better at doing what you're doing, not only in the physical, but mentally. She said, when you take food and just go throw it in the microwave, you're not thinking about what you're doing. Your mind is somewhere else. You're not functioning, being present. But when you take the time to turn the oven on, preheat the oven, put the food in there just right so you know where it's at, you know what you want in that position. It's thought process, it's caretaking. So her mindset was, if we're going to keep speeding things up, we're taking the process out of things. And now, in hindsight, as a man, I see why she was tripping. I thought she was crazy, but the truth is, if we take the process out of everything, we'll never get to the next step. And like you said before, if we skip steps, we're inevitably going to end up right back where you are, frustrated, upset, and totally out of control.
I have absolutely loved this conversation, and obviously you and I can keep going. I mean,
Beyond the
there's no
years.
way we could stop. But kind of in wrap up, you got your cute little babies, and you're a young dad. I'm a more seasoned dad. My kids are all starting to move out and stuff, and it's fun to see young men who are really trying to be good dads.
Yes, sir.
So let me ask you, and so I mad shout out and kudos to not only the man that you are, but the impact that you're trying to have on other men. What has surprised you most about being a dad?
Mm. What surprised me most about being a dad is that even as a dad, I'm still a child.
Mm,
Still big kids, bro. Like we're the same people we were when we were their age. And in seeing that, for me, has been an awakening because I thought to myself as a dad, I'm just individual where those are my children, right? Like those are my kids. They're behind me. But in no actuality, they're teaching me. They're standing in front of me, showing me parts of my life that I missed out on. Right?
mm,
They're teaching me about being more sensitive, about being more comprehensive to not just what's going on around us, but what's going on within them. Like, see, it's taught me about introspection way more than any personal development tool that I've actually practiced with in my entire life. So, as a father, it's taught me more about me being a boy than more than anything, man.
I love that. Because I always tell my kids, I'm just a big kid in a 56-year-old body. I mean, I want to play with you. I want to
Yes,
wake surf. I want to ski. I want to play basketball. Maybe my
yes,
body doesn't like it as much, but I love it, right? I tell my kids all the time, I'm on a mission to be 100 years old. I want
yes,
to be 100 years
yes.
old. And I've told them my dream on my 100th birthday is to go water skiing early, go to church, have some worship, go water skiing, come home, take a nice warm bath, go to bed and die. I mean, that'll be a perfect day, perfect end to
With it
100 years.
ending, right? That's a glorious ending, man. And we can only pray for it. But the one thing we can do every single day to get to it is enjoy the process, bro. Like
Enjoy the
enjoy
process.
the process, man. Like the one thing, the reason I tell everybody, like my thing is I'm speaking loud out to myself is that, oh, people say you do a great job, and thank you so much for telling me about how much great I'm doing. But in all actuality, I'm just living the life that I wish that someone would have showed me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't, and I know that there's work that I'm doing behind the scenes and helping, but in all actuality, I'm just being transparent. I'm showing that, yo, even if you didn't have it, right? Even if you didn't have it and you wanted it so bad, what you don't have to do is you don't have to be perfect, right? You don't have to have it all figured out because none of us do. But what you have to do is show up every day and be present for the commitment that you've made as an individual to yourself, first and foremost, to God, and then to your children and your wife included, man.
Amen, man. Amen. I love that, man. Well, I want to thank you for being my guest. I always love minding your conversation. Guys, please go check out RJD. You can find him on Instagram, rgd.imperfectgentleman. He's also has the Imperfect Fathers podcast. Uniquely Confident podcast, and he's on YouTube and all your podcast stuff. And I'm telling you, he, like me, I mean, we're just trying to ignite the fire within you guys to be
Yes.
better fathers, to be better husbands, to be better men,
Yes.
men that God sees that we can become, that our wife sees that we can become, and that they're both hoping we will become.
Oh, and also too, before we go, really quick, there's a book that I read recently that has impacted me in a way that is no other piece of material have ever impacted me. And is now is now a mandatory read for every man that I coach. The man that wrote the book goes by the name of Jason Wilson, and the book is called Battle Cry. You gotta
Oh,
read this book. When I tell you this book speaks about the first chapter, I'm only gonna give you a prelude. The first chapter is about emotional incarceration.
mm,
I'm gonna leave it there.
wow.
Is this book will change. Mark my words. This book will, not if, maybe, by chance. If you read this book, it will change your life.
I gotta read it. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna find the link. I'm gonna put it in the show notes. That's Jason Wilson, Battle Cry, and
Yes.
I love the imagery of emotional incarceration, especially
Yeah.
having gone through some heavy situations with the judicial system and
Mhm.
seeing how unfair and how it can really cripple
Yes.
people's lives, both short term and long term. Dude, I gotta check it out. So
Oh
thank you
man,
for
like
that recommendation.
it's going to do so many things, man. Like it's going to challenge you. It's going to make you what he speaks about in this book, a comprehensive man. Like we strive to be this masculine man. That's only a percentage of what we are. Like the most highest ideal for us is to be comprehensive, to be understanding what the situation needs at that time. Uh, Let me tell you, Jody, this book is going to literally change the perspectives of men all over the world. Like when I actually got a chance to read this book, it was by chance because I followed him on Instagram. I met him through Clubhouse as well. I had an opportunity to share the stage with him, and he was telling us about the book that he was writing. And when I actually took the time to download the book and read it, I was in tears.
Mm.
Tears. I sat in this very office right here and had to apologize to the boy in me. Had to go out of this very room and apologize to my wife, to my children. This book will literally open up your the scepters in your mind and area that you didn't even think of. As a man, that you're saying to yourself, "Wow, nobody taught me this." Like this is crazy because you're like, this should have been a part of my criteria growing up. This should have been part of my life. But just now in this space that we're in, I'm so grateful that this man has obeyed the call, right? Because right now in this space, Jody, with Father's Fry, the work that I'm doing on different podcasts and platforms, we're being obedient to the calling on our lives. And because of our obedience, other men will be okay to make moves in their lives. So I always say thank you to men like yourself, to men like Jason Williams for not shying away, sweeping things under the rug, but dealing with those things and being transparent about them because realizing that our experience and our testimonies is somebody else's therapy to get through what they need to get through, man. So that's my
Yeah,
life, man.
your challenge, and I'm speaking to everybody listening, but you and I both know this. Your challenge, your dark moments. If you're willing to be vulnerable and share those, they can be the blueprint for other men working through a very similar challenge.
Absolutely.
Right? And God, and you feel it, I feel it, the assignment, the pull to share these experiences and have these discussions to help all of us become better men. I got a little frustrated this week with somebody well, I'm going to be honest. I mean, he's my business partner, right? He's like, man, he goes, somebody came to me and said, what's Jody doing? He's doing all this stuff on the side with Father's Fire, and is he leaving? And I'm like, dude, when have I ever not given you 120
Right.
for our business? I give you 120 for our company. But I'm telling you, I feel a call, I feel a pull
Mhm.
to talk to men, to have these discussions. It's not distracting,
Right.
it's complementary.
Right.
It's not distracting, it's complementary. In fact, it's essential
Mm.
that we as men look at ourselves because it ripples across every aspect of our life, our relationships with our wife, our relationship with our children, and our relationships in the business world.
Absolutely.
So if
One
we can't have the discussion to look inward to help each other grow, then we're doing ourselves a disservice.
complete.
And so
Complete.
everything that I'm doing is complementary to help have an impact. It's like I always tell them in business, I want to have an impact on business. But with Father's Fire and my public speaking and my books, I want to have an impact on the individual,
Mhm.
because the individual, if I can impact the father, the husband, the boy, and all of us, I can impact generations.
Yo, Jody, you all right? Now, you know we got to go, but last story. So there was a story, and I might butcher it, but I'm a paraphrase. This man's working in his office, right? He has a big project that's due by the end of the day, but he also has to watch his 4-year-old son. So his son is doing his doing, and he's working. So obviously his son gives him time, but he comes in the office. Dad, I want to play. I want to put this puzzle together. I want to do this. I want to do that. He says, "All right, son, give me a few minutes, and I'll be right with you." Right? We tell our kids that. Goes off. Kids have no sense of time at the age of 4. Comes back in the room like seconds later. Dad, are you done? He's like, "Oh crap! I gave him an assignment. Let me clarify this. Here." He looked over, seen the paper, right? Took a piece of paper that had the picture of the globe on the front of it. He's like, "Oh, you know what? Ripped it up pretty good." He said, "Here's some tape. Here's some cardboard. Put this together, and by the time you finish with this, I'll be ready to do whatever you ask me to do." Kid was like, "That's what I gotta do, Dad? Cool. All right." Takes the paper and runs off. Dad in his mind, I got at least 4 hours. You know what I mean? I got at least a good 4. He's not coming back in here no time soon. 45 minutes later, the kid walks in the room. "Dad, I'm finished. You ready?" "What? You're done? Let me see that." He brings it to him, and doggone it, the globe is in complete order. It's in complete order. Amazing. "How the hell did you do this, son?" Now he's like, "Oh my God, I got a genius kid. I'm about to call him. I'm getting on the phone and calling everybody, right? Like, how did you do this?" And the kid said, "Dad, it was easy." "What? And now you're gonna tell me it's easy? How'd you do it? Tell me. Tell Daddy how you did this." "Dad, it's easy. All I had to do is put the man together." He said, "Put the man together?" He turned the picture over, and it was a picture of a man. And that's how we fix the world. If we take the time to do the work on each and every man, the world inevitably will be a better place. So it's not difficult to put the world back together. We just got to put ourselves back together.
Drop the mic. Boom.
That's it, man. That is it. Yo,
That's
Jody,
it,
thank you,
man.
man. This has been amazing.
Oh, it has been. Well, thank you so much. I
Yes, man.
really, really appreciate your spirit. I've really appreciated getting to know you, and I have mad, mad, mad respect and love for you. And looking forward to
Appreciate
having future conversations. I just want to thank you for taking the time, guys. Please go check out RJD Imperfect Gentleman on Instagram. Look him up on the Imperfect Fathers podcast and Uniquely Confident podcast. The guy, as you can tell, is dropping gems, and and it's
Not be the
all with the
book.
intent of helping us all
Absolutely.
touch the heart of that boy in us so that we can become the man God hopes we'll be. So,
Yes, indeed, man.
so
Yeah, everywhere I go, I leave and I say the same words. So I'm not gonna let this be another place where I don't do the same. And I leave everybody with the same thing. Please, guys, listen to me good. Be good to yourself. Be good to who you are. And then after you be good to who you are, be good to the people around you, right? Be good to them. Be nice to them. Cherish them. But if you can't be good to the people around you, here's some advice and some instructions. Get those people from around you. Yo, this is RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman. Thank you so much for allowing me on this platform. Jody, what you're doing with the work with the fathers, keep it up. I appreciate it. And I thank you so much. And I salute you for the work that you do. Thank you once again, man. I appreciate you.
Nah, I appreciate you, brother. So, you guys, we appreciate you tuning in. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and go check out my new book. It's on jodycedric.com/new book.
Don't get that.
Learning to dance with the currents of life when you feel like you're drowning.
Yes.
And we will check you guys same time, same bad channel, just next week. See ya.
Peace, y'all. Blessings.